Can't discount anyone. Randomizer can do lots of crazy things. Lenophis can absolutely take this game off of Zeb. But we'll just have to see. And we have this game getting started.
And series, oh dang. I was hoping for series.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Cutie. Ain't vanilla. All right, so both of the players heading down. There's a lot of interesting things that can happen at the start of this game. Notably, if let's say they were to pick up a super and like a power bomb early, there's a real case of just choosing to go for meme route. Basically, you're going left of criteria and then you get spat out at the top. That'll give you kind of quicker access to the alpha power bombs check in red tower. So that's definitely an option that I know Zeb would do if you were to have, I think, at least a power bomb and a super missile. But
yeah,
not everyone chooses to do that, which is fine. But it is, I think, a situation where you can get a little bit of edge. Obviously, it's randomizer; things can kind of backfire if you do that. But yeah, that's kind of this is always going to be the morph item, and it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of things that can happen here that'll make you make different choices. I know Cutie, notably, the one that you dislike is screw attack.
It depends on where your ammo is. Screw attack can be really nice if you find supers or power bombs down here in your miners. So a super missile here, that is going to mean that the bomb Torizo item is going to have the logical explosive or way into Brinstar. So it's going to have one of either bombs, power bombs, speed booster, or screw attack.
Yep.
To get in there.
Did Lenophis not check the ceiling item?
He might have.
Lenophis did not get the item, but
with supers and power bombs here, okay. It's not a bad idea to do the meme route. You want the supers though, because the Spore Spawn super is a Chozo, and there aren't very many miners to check before then to get super missiles. So it's a pretty good idea to go out this door right here. There's an argument for going up, but this is just pretty efficient in terms of getting that alpha power bomb item. The suits can't be in criteria. So something like, what is that, 230 can't be a suit, BT can't be a suit.
Yep, and Gauntlet.
And Gauntlet.
So this is interesting. Okay, so we already have some divergence. Zeb going ahead and going left. Lenophis choosing not to check the item in pit room. Now, this is kind of, to me, indicating that Lenophis, knowing maybe this is just how Lenophis chooses to play Chozo, or maybe it's an adjustment because Zeb is definitely one of the stronger runners. But I kind of get the feeling that Lenophis might be playing for charge here because he's already opted to skip a few miners checks.
Mm-hmm. And, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, and so playing for charge is something you can absolutely do. Now, if charge is like a check tool, you're kind of done. That's just kind of game over.
Mm-hmm. And there's Varia. As I said, Varia is very likely to be in Brinstar, or even the high jump item, because of the logical requirements of it really only checks the boss items or Chozo statues for logic, in quotes there. So your upper North Air suitless runs would require a lot of E-tanks on Chozo statues, so it's very likely.
Yep. Yeah, so already really interesting. I mean, right off the bat, we're getting Varia on at the charge, and Lenophis finding this grapple. Now, the grapple is potentially going to be really important, because if they have to fight a Dragon at some point and they don't have gravity, that is going to be a way out. Now, man, there's kind of already a lot going on here because both these players diverged from the start. What was that item that Zeb just got off that Chozo?
Oh, jeez. I think it was an E-tank. It was an E-tank.
Okay.
And to speak again on Zeb's choice here, the main thing about this choice is with alpha power bombs being a major item, this is just the most efficient way to check all the majors. Because in this case, maybe not, because there's a chance that your Gauntlet could have a major. However, since the criteria checks can't be suits, just isolating Gauntlet like that is not a big deal, and it's just by far the most efficient way if you're planning on checking Alpha Power Bombs to go up this way through Brinstar, because there's no going up and down like there would be if you just go the traditional way.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's something that's kind of interesting. I think there is a chance that Zeb might end up checking Gauntlet. Now, it's a little bit more complex on why he might check it, but the reason is, as of right now, Lenophis is going ahead and checking Gauntlet because we know. Now, here's the thing: Zeb actually does not know where the logical power bombs are, because the logical power bombs, I think, happen to be in at BT. And so by knowing, because they got a super at the start. Oh, Lenophis, you have to be careful here. Okay, because they got a super at the beginning at that Chozo, and they got the logical power bombs at BT. That's going to incentivize Zeb to actually go ahead and check this Gauntlet, because it can kind of be anything at that point. Now, if Zeb didn't know, if Zeb doesn't find power bombs, let's say at BT. I think typically he is less incentivized to go check Gauntlet, because it's just really likely to be just either like ammo or bombs or power bombs or something like that, which are all not something you necessarily need.
Well, we already know what out of 4 what the BT item is, and I think the only if it's screw attack, you definitely don't check it, because if it's screw attack, then actually. Without finding logical power bombs, yes. If it's screw attack, then you know that your logical power bombs are either at Gauntlet or at high jump. Mm-hmm. And in that situation, then you definitely don't check Gauntlet, because it's that 50-50 for just a logical power bomb. Yep. And without suits being able to be here, it just makes it a much weaker check overall for the time investment.
Yep. So those the ammo, honestly, at the back of Gauntlet, the supers and the power bombs, those are pretty nice, because at this point in time, the 15 power bombs, you do kind of want to be collecting all these miners and the power bombs as early as possible, and that's because, as Cutie mentioned earlier, you really want to be collecting ammo until you can at least do Ridley, because you might not be finding charge, and if you find Ridley and you can't do it, then you're gonna have to do a whole lot of backtracking before you fight that boss, finish that boss off. So the other reason is you do want to have 15 power bombs. Because you have to kind of think all the way down to Turian. If you don't find ice, you're going to be in kind of a bad spot. If you don't have the 15, you might have to leave the room and find more ways to get power bombs, and that's never fun. And the other thing that you have to also consider, if you also do not have a way to get through the Batoon hallway to fight that boss, unless you are able to kill Dragon beforehand. So there's a lot of things to consider, but having 15 power bombs early kind of makes you not have to think about those potential struggles in the future. So this is going to be interesting. We'll see if Zeb chooses to do Gauntlet here. After he finds these power bombs, I think there's a chance he might consider doing it.
Yeah, I think it being a weaker check, though, I think it would really depend on opponent. Yes. With it being it's a weaker check, and B, it's taking him in the opposite direction of the direction he wants to go.
Exactly. It is kind of a bad check. So if Zeb chooses to go to Gauntlet here, it's very much a coverage play. And he's trying to be extra safe here. If he feels that he kind of needs all the time he can get, he is not going to do Gauntlet, and he's going to go up ahead, because whatever he finds at Gauntlet, he probably doesn't need it to finish the game.
Yeah, it's very unlikely he needs it to finish the game. It would be something that speeds him up. So he's skipping it here because since it can't be a suit, it would just be something that would speed him up. And it's not. There are very few items that could be found there that would be worth the time investment to get. So it's just a percentage play to skip it.
Yep. So just too slow. Zeb's not going to do it. I think that's completely fair. I don't think I would have done that. It's just not that great. Now, so if anyone's wondering, Zeb could have obviously gone right and gone to wreck ship. This is a boss rando, so if it's not like exactly Kraid or Fantoon there, it's just like it's really not good. And I mean, even in the case that it is Fantoon and you can get the majors there, it's still not really that great, because you really don't want to be doing checks like the top of wreck ship. That can kind of spell disaster. It takes so long. So kind of the best way to approach it for sure is to just go straight down from here.
That's all 3 Chozo tanks. So what's actually interesting about finding all 3 Chozo tanks here is actually it will make Zeb potentially less likely, or Leno potentially less likely, to skip stuff later, because that means that they know that the checks that they're going to do are going to have a higher percentage to yield items that will speed them up. They won't find like an E-tank dud when trying to check an item to speed them up in the mid and end game here.
Mm-hmm. What was the so Spazer was at Gauntlet. Where was the second tank?
It was Bryn Reserve, Sports
Bryn
Bond,
Reserve.
and Alpha Power Bombs were the three Chozo E-tanks.
Right,
and the other thing about Wreck Ship is even if Phantoon is there, again, the majors are after the boss.
Yep.
Instead of before like others.
So we have Zeb going ahead and doing this X-ray. Now it's very important to note he's just going ahead and do the D-boost. Okay, he did the first D-boost, but if Zeb had no suits and had, nothing, and he had like 2 E-tanks, I'm pretty sure. I mean, maybe 3. If he had 2, maybe he'll take a save, but like he's gonna check this item. Now it's just a missile, which really sucks. But I mean, Chozo, there's only so many logical items. I would arguably say that this is something that like you kind of have to learn if you want to play Chozo this mode at like a really high level.
Yes.
Obviously, there's a huge amount of risk to it depending on your loadout, but it's really important to be able to do this. And Zeb doesn't have anything, didn't get anything worthwhile, but it's also not that difficult because we do have to grapple. It is a long check, but if gravity was there and you don't get it, then that's not good.
Yeah, it's a hard check to justify skipping, even if it's not in logic, especially if it's not in logic, honestly. Yeah. Just because of this is your only chance to really get it, and this mode is too fast.
Yep.
Gravity there just completely changes the complexion of the race.
Now, it's important to note we're kind of seeing maybe the power of meme route here, but basically Leno had to go up that red tower, had a little bit of trouble getting up the tower, so lost a little bit of charge beam.
So charge beam here is pretty good, but the fact that they don't have any beams will definitely lead Zeb to still be checking some miners, but mainly just the really fast ones, because there's no guarantee that he'll run into a beam later. And a 200 shot Mother Brain with 1510 is definitely slower than just picking up some majors along the way.
Yeah, so
your Ridley and everything just so much easier. So it would not surprise me to see Zeb still pick up some ammo at possibly high jump or even check the crate boss here.
Mm-hmm. So Zeb choosing not to check that crate boss. It's something that you could. The main reason you would check that crate boss is if you could do all the bosses quick enough. And you think that you could maybe spike something that's going to make that lower Norfair a lot faster or a lot easier. That's kind of the main reason you would do it. So you kind of need to meet those conditions. Otherwise, if you have to do that now, and let's say it's Dragon, yes, you can do it. Ridley, yes, you could do it, but you're going to have to drop a ton of power bombs. If you got nothing good behind the Ridley fight and you did it now, yes, you'll do it now. But you could have gotten all that loot from lower Norfair and then come back and done that Ridley fight way faster without having to drop power bombs. So most of the time, with nice speed booster right there for Zeb, most of the time you do want to just kind of pass on that boss and do it later, unless you're really, really stacked for the fights.
Yep, this speed booster is really nice because it is a Zeb skip. More so than Batoon hallway access is just needing a Zeb skip. Because there's a chance you just find Dragon at one of the 2 bosses, at the crate boss or the lower Norfair boss, and don't even need a way past the Batoon hallway. Or Zeb is, and a lot of runners actually who play this mode are very good at the crystal flash clip. So mainly you want speed or ice for a Zeb skip. It just saves you a lot of time.
Yep. Now here's an interesting thing. Zeb with his current loadout, very often if Zeb is like completely stacked, that ice check is something he'll often skip, because ice, if you think about it, it's actually a really, really long check. You have to go through this huge hallway, multiple transitions to go through it. High jump, relatively speaking, is much quicker. Now, getting high jump at high jump is pretty nice. So Zeb's lower Norfair run is definitely looking a little bit nicer, especially not having to do that bootless lava dive. But
I think it's pretty likely he goes to LN right here.
Yeah. So now here's the thing, Cutie. I would say I think he might also consider just clearing Bubble Mountain here, because he doesn't have the ammo. I think it's kind of close, because the interesting thing about charge is sometimes in Chozo you just want to go. But there's 2 things. First, his super count is not good. He has charge, but that charge is really weak. So he needs to refill supers. He wants to refill. If he's going to refill supers, it's going to be now. So as you can see, selecting the power bombs, I think he's going up because even if he wasn't going to check the majors here, he needs to find a way to refill the supers, and that makes going to the speed booster even more lucrative because you really don't want to be farming the bugs in the pre-ridley room. It's just so slow. So tips for any Chozo runners out there, if you need the supers to fight a potential ridley down, you want to be farming it here, just like a new route, where when you play new route and you go to grab speed booster and wave, you do all your farming at the speed booster bugs to refill the thing. So it's the same concept. But now that he's here, I'm pretty sure Zeb's just going to check these majors because the charge also makes the majors checked way better, right, Cutie?
Yes, having charge makes checking majors better in this situation, actually, because you can spike a beam, which speeds up a lot. Without charge, this check, having speed actually makes this check pretty good, but speed booster is actually also a pretty slow check. There are plenty of times coming out of Lower Norfair, if you have both suits and you go to Lower Norfair immediately, there are plenty of times where you come out and just you skip the speed booster check and go to the Bryn Reserve instead for ammo. It's not uncommon to see that play, because that's one of the big boons of doing Lower Norfair immediately after entering Norfair, is that you have more information to decide how you play the seed in Bubble Mountain.
All right, so Cutie, here we go. We have an interesting divergence. Lenophis heading straight to Kraid. Now, this is one of those things that we're talking about. Leno is going to have to do the grapple escape here to get out. And this check, this could be interesting. Now, we know gravity, I think, is not going to be where Leno is, but this is a situation where this fight could end up going really slowly. And let's say Zeb spikes beams, Zeb spikes, plasma, Zeb spikes gravity, right? Now this fight is just going to be straight up faster for Zeb if this happens. But we don't really know, so we'll see here.
In this situation with the divergence, I think best case scenario for Lenophis would have been Kraid or Ridley holding a gravity suit, because it would let Lenophis skip a lot more in Upper Norfair as well, and Lower Norfair even, for that matter.
Leno's got to be a little bit careful here. Oh, that's not really good because Leno's gonna have to grapple jump out without high jump boots, and he's taking a lot of damage right now. I'm a little bit uncomfortable because he's only gonna get so many tries before he gets out, and if he can't get it out in time, then he's gonna have to take that reset. I believe he did save beforehand, but
not enough super drops for a Crystal Flash either to help that energy. What do we got here? Screw attack. That'll make Lower Norfair nicer.
That's a really, really strong find.
It is.
If there's anything that you kind of wanted to spike here, it's something that's going to make that Lower Norfair better. And that is going to make that Lower Norfair way better for Leno. So as long as he can get out here, that's going to help him a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is definitely kind of a crucial moment. We'll have to see if Leno can get out here at a reasonable speed. Oh, looks like he's got it. I don't think... Oh, he bumped his head there. But it looks like he's going to be able to get here just fine because he definitely seems like he's got this under control. Oh, no!
No! That screw attack is probably the best item he could have found behind Dragon. Obviously, before knowing the boss, the best item would be to spike a gravity suit, but knowing it's Dragon, screw attack is probably the best item to find there for this play.
Yep. Now, Zeb has to go check with speed and high jump, can go ahead and get out of here. I'm really watching Leno right now. Okay, Leno's got this. All right, good job, Leno.
There we go. Good, nice job, Leno.
So Zeb is going ahead and trying to farm some supers here because for a potential Ridley fight coming up ahead, and he can get out of this GT check. Now he's gonna be pretty scared if gravity's not here exactly, and it is. So there you go. Really good find for Zeb. That's kind of really optimal for him. If Zeb didn't spike gravity here, he's gonna have to start sweating because there is a situation where if Zeb comes down here and he doesn't have gravity, he has to maybe make a decision on whether or not he wants to do Croc. And I don't think he ever wants to do Croc. Nobody wants to have to do that because it's a huge check. In a way, you could consider it turning into like a 50-50 if one person chooses to go to Croc and one person doesn't. It's not, it's not a 50-50, obviously. It's stacked in one way. It's probably better not to do it.
Yeah.
But if Zeb chose to skip Croc in favor of, thinking that there's a much better chance that he'll find gravity up, which is good, and Leno chooses to clear it, that might just spell disaster for Zeb. But in
Mhm.
this case, Zeb hit that. He's effectively go mode at this situation.
And with a way out, if you're going to go into LN with a way out of screw attack, and you're missing your gravity suit, it is like a must check
Yes.
because you'll never be able to go back there.
Yes, exactly. Now, I think there are some instances where you don't have a way to get out. And I know Zeb has talked about this being like something he's struggled with. Like, do I save and do I check it? Knowing that I need that information. The thing is, like, usually the best play probably is to just orphan it and just pray.
Yeah,
But,
if
you
you're
know,
coming down here
obviously-
without a way out of screw attack, you just leave it and pray, I think.
Yeah.
Just
so-
mainly because, like, even if you know it's gravity, you're banking then on getting a way out of GT at the LN boss,
Mhm.
and then doing reverse amphitheater, which is not like it's just so slow.
Mhm.
I mean, it might be the fastest way to play the seed, I guess, but it's just so unlikely a scenario that like then all of a sudden you're just wasting minutes checking for an item that you can't keep.
Yep. Yeah, so this is interesting. I mean, Zeb effectively has everything that he wants here. He's got the power bombs in case he doesn't find ice to, do Turian relatively quickly, because you do want at least 15. He's got the Zeb skip option. He has all the suits. He doesn't know it yet, but Dragon is at Kraid, so he wouldn't have even needed a way to get through the Bottoon hallway. So yeah, I mean, Zeb is good to go at this point. I think he's only gonna be checking like only the really, really quick majors, like the ones behind bosses, to perhaps spike a beam or something like that.
Now, I think there's a chance Leno goes to Lower Norfair right here with the screw attack. There's a bug farm that can be done as well. Right here at the Croc Gate, you could bug farm there. There's also a bug farm in a separate room on the way to farm for supers. So if he's going to LN here, I think you take one of those two farms and you just go straight there. Or you can check screw attack and farm supers at screw attack as well. That's also not a bad situation.
Yep.
But I think that screw attack will let Leno probably skip Bubble Mountain that Zeb ended up doing.
Yep. So Leno could definitely have gone to. Did you spot that item behind Kraid?
I actually did not.
Yeah. So Leno could have definitely. I think maybe farm the bugs in the pre-croc room, just a few screens before, but definitely kind of showing. Understanding what the situation is. Leno knows that he wants to farm a little bit in the event that there's like a Ridley fight that has to go down there.
Or a green gate glitch to happen as well.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's perhaps farming to 14. That's kind of the main reason, because you can refill the supers pretty quickly there.
Yes,
So
especially with screw attack. Yep. Yep, and that's why for the boss being Dragon, the best item Leno could have found was screw attack, because it makes the Lower Norfair play here just far more palatable before doing the Bubble Mountain, because there's not much you're going to find in Bubble Mountain in this situation that is going to speed up your Lower Norfair. Maybe you spike gravity and don't check screw attack, but being able to do Bubble Mountain on the way out instead is much nicer, and screw attack is also a way to refill your supers much faster otherwise. So it's just, I think in Leno's situation, it was definitely the right play to come down here and do Lower Norfair before Bubble Mountain, because it
Nice.
Yep, there we go, green gate glitch.
So Leno's gonna go ahead and grab the gravity here as well. The other thing that maybe might have tilted Lenophis's options towards going to Lower Norfair directly is Lenophis did get that Spazer from Gauntlet. Zeb only had the P shot, I think, going down, so he kind of was in a little bit of a sketchy situation there.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's not that much extra damage, but it's when you're fighting a boss with 18,000 health, the difference between, I think, what does Charge Spacer do, like 100 or something? Maybe 120? The difference between 120 and 60 damage versus an 18,000 health boss is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things to also consider. The others being like the metal pirates. If you have speed booster, suddenly like your super usage is going to be like a million times better because you don't just have to like blow them up with supers and whatnot. So Lenophis, I think so far playing this really well. Just you know, here kind of what we're talking about. He's gonna get a little bit of a refund on that screw attack he got, but by doing that crate first, which is, you know, I feel like that's kind of a popular option. It's just he got kind of a bad boss, right?
Yeah, I don't hate it.
So much faster.
I don't hate it when you have Ridley ammo. I think if you have Ridley ammo and both suits, 100% you do it. Because especially if you find Ridley there, there's no need to farm supers in LN, where it's slower to farm supers. Farming supers before crate is very fast in comparison. So I think if you have both suits, you definitely do it. I think if you have only Varia, it's arguable if you have a way out of Dragon already, but it's still, you know, it can still end up pretty bad. In this case, I think it ended up fine for both of them in some ways. The big thing is there was just so much available right away in Upper Norfair in the business center area with the high jump mainly, that it kind of just didn't work out as well as he would have hoped. But I think it's a pretty defensible play to make.
Yep. Now here's another thing that's going to be interesting. Zeb not quite getting that X factor that he wanted, but something that's actually quite interesting here. This is kind of this is a boss rando kind of specialty with the vanilla map, but Zeb is going to take the different route and skipping Batoon for this hallway, and that's because he has not fought Ridley yet.
Yes.
Right? So the fastest way to kill Ridley, obviously, is to just pummel Ridley with a bunch of supers. So if you have to go through Batoon hallway, that means you're going to have to use a ton of supers on Batoon.
Yeah, and with charge wave though, it might not be that bad. I think maybe if you didn't have charge wave, it's a little. It leans a lot more heavily towards skipping Batoon, but I think with this loadout, if you're not worried about Ridley ammo, with this loadout, it's probably faster to go through Batoon than otherwise. But because of ammo, it would not surprise me if he skipped Batoon here. Because he doesn't know if Ridley's coming.
Yeah,
it's a little closer though.
Yeah, ultimately Batoon is going to be faster if you kind of do everything, especially because he has the whole like KPDR like PRKD like loadout, so he can even do the X factor and everything as you're talking about. So it is a little bit faster, but the benefit of going through the CAC alley kind of route is you conserve so many supers. But we'll have to see, because ultimately if you don't need the supers, you don't need the ammo, the Batoon hallway is going to be, I want to say in the realm, when you add everything up, it's still like 20 seconds faster. But yeah, okay, Zeb wants to go this way.
I mean, I've never timed it. I think if you have space jump, you do this every time though.
Yeah.
I think space jump speeds this up a lot. And there is full halfy too to consider, that you won't get going this way, but which is probably where that 20 seconds figure comes from, close to it, being able to do full halfy and stuff. With this ammo and having wave beam, I think it's pretty much just a preference, because you can do Batoon with very little ammo in comparison. But this way just saves a lot of ammo in case Ridley ends up being here, which is the biggest play for this. Which is another nice fun thing about boss shuffle this way, is you don't necessarily need to way past Batoon if you find Dragon.
Yep. Now it is important to note, Zeb did have the option here if he wanted to. He'll also have the option if he chooses to go backwards this way, because Wreckship is going to have the final boss. Zeb could have checked Plasma here. It is a slow check though. But if you know, he needed certain kinds of major items, certain majors would potentially speed things up, or he wasn't ready to finish the game, he would maybe consider hitting that check up on the way out. But Zeb deciding not to do that right now probably takes too much time and is going to head straight to the boss.
Yeah, there's certain situations where I think you could argue a Forgotten Highway with a Plasma check here, even though you could have checked Plasma on the way in. Just those are mainly probably if you were committing to charge beam, I would say. I mean, there's other ones, but there's so many edge cases in randomizer, and that's what's really interesting about it. Even a mode that's this straight up, there's a lot of decisions to make that are more micro. For, like the direction that you're going to get to Dragon here is certainly there's stuff to discuss about it. It's not just an obvious decision, which I think it is something that isn't necessarily realized by a lot of people watching, just because it's not something you hear discussed a lot. This is a mode of micro decisions.
Yep.
And as for Leno checking wave beam here, I don't hate it, just because of the beam combo he's got.
Yeah, Spacer is a decent amount of damage, but the check also is pretty quickly. The wave is potentially going to be nice, makes that baby skip a lot easier, and that little extra damage for the Mother Brain fight.
Yep, I definitely do not hate this, just because he doesn't have a beam. That's really good. Like Phaser alone, and with this ammo, like Mother Brain takes quite a while, and I think if there's a super pack there, you might even pick up the super pack. Especially also because you've not seen Ridley yet, either. Still.
Nice fight for Zeb here.
Yep, definitely skip the speed booster here. There's no reason to be checking speed booster here, especially after spiking that wave. Even if he didn't spike a beam here, I think you skip speed booster.
Yep. Yeah, so far, I think, honestly, Leno playing this really, really well. There's just a few decisions that, I think Zeb got ahead. Otherwise, I think a lot of it comes down to kind of the execution and the gauntlet check that Leno did at the beginning. Now, obviously, with the Spazer, he's going to get some of that back, but maybe not the amount that it took to do the entire gauntlet.
I think 10 peebs coming up is a gauntlet check usually. Just you get ammo, you get an item that's not guaranteed to be ammo. So I don't necessarily disagree with the gauntlet check in his situation. I think the big thing was that going up instead of doing going out the side hopper door is probably the main decision that caused that. Because I think with 10 power bombs, I don't think it's wrong to do gauntlet there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially knowing that you have the in logic power bombs and the super count. You could kind of just get anything at that point. I'm pretty sure Zeb would also have done that had he gone up. So I think this is, a lot of this might just be kind of coming down to execution, but obviously we still have a lot of game to play. You never really know what's going to happen until the end of the game here. Leno also choosing to go to this route, knowing that the Dragon boss is dead, so you don't have to go and fight Batoon.
Yep, and this room is annoying without space jump. If you miss one of the platforms, you can just get really stuck. And this is I was talking with Eddie about this earlier. I feel like space jump is an item that saves more time the less movement items you have. So like if you're just sitting there, no high jump, no speed, and you have space jump, I think it saves far more time than if you have like speed and high jump and then pick up space jump. I think it's one of those like inverse relationships where you want to find space jump early as a movement item if you're going to find it.
Yep. And obviously the other thing we want to point out is obviously another time loss for Lenophis. It's definitely the Dragon fight, having to do. It looks like he was trying to do the grapple kill, but it didn't kind of work out for him a few times, so he ended up having to unload a bunch of supers. That kind of had a cascading effect of also having to farm a little bit more than he might have wanted to, because he had to unload all those supers on Dragon. So honestly, other than that, I think Lenophis has played a really strong game so far, making the right skips on that speed booster, going through the Batoon door. I mean, obviously we talked about how you could argue it, but Lenophis clearly knows what he's doing, has a very solid game plan, and has been playing very solid, but seems like the cards are in favor for Zeb in this run, and the execution may have been a little bit better for Zeb so far.
Yeah, I don't think either of the runners has necessarily made a play that's indefensible. Like it's been pretty solid across the board. And I think possibly the meme route's a higher percentage play, but there's arguments against doing it as well. I think if you can do meme route and you don't, I think you probably have to skip the alpha power bombs check, though. It's just like one of those like kind of metagame plays where it's like my opponents are going to be doing this. Like, how do I And if I don't want to do this, then I think I kind of have to just skip the alpha power bombs check. But
All right, so Zeb making short work of Ridley. I think Zeb's gonna go in and check this item.
I think you check it.
yeah.
Just there's
Beam.
a couple things that can speed you up a lot. Speed, or not speed. Ice speeds you up a ton. In any other beam, actually, just speeds them up a ton.
Yep. Unfortunately, just bombs.
Yep. Generally, I wouldn't check the last boss's item, but when you have charge, you definitely do. If you don't have charge, there's very little point in checking that item, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because charge can't be behind Ridley.
Yeah. So Zeb going ahead, not checking the right supers. He's just going to go ahead and go straight to Mother. Don't think if he's not checking right supers, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be checking Gauntlet. So this is just going to be let off of him.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything at right side supers other than ice that even like makes your run faster. And even ice is not completely clear. I mean, I guess it is because you're doing charge. If you're doing ammo, ice saves even less time there to find. But with charge, it would save a little bit. But like that's the only ice or a beam. But it takes a lot of time to go get. It's like 30 plus seconds at least out of your way to go get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Leno honestly is even much less incentivized to do that just because he already spiked that Spazer from the Gauntlet check. So, I mean, his beam is going to be a little bit stronger than Zeb's in this situation. But yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of funny to see that, Leno having done the Gauntlet check, I think spiked a super as well as a powerbomb earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Is going to end up completing the seed potentially with less ammo than Zeb.
I think the super in Gauntlet also incentivized Leno to check the Crave boss more because he had 30 supers instead of 25 and a much more comfortable Ridley.
Yep.
I think it's hard to have for Zeb to do it in his ammo situation, but I think it's a bit more of a calculated gamble in Lenophis's ammo situation, and that's like another big thing that, as I was saying earlier, about like charge isn't everything in these. The ammo you pick up early is really important because even if you pick up charge, these modes are so fast and the bad checks are really bad. That you're very likely to, even if you find charge, not end up with a good beam combo and want ammo.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. Chozo's deceptive because you think, like, I'm always just going to play for charge. But what ends up happening is you're just checking all these majors that you might not have to be checking. Like, you're checking... Sometimes people get to skip ice in this mode. Sometimes people, both play... Leno was able to skip speed booster, right? Like, if stuff like that is happening and, you're going out of your way, you spike charge at, like, plasma or something like that, it's like... That's good. You spike plasma. You spark charge at plasma, but the checks that charge could be at actually take a really long time. So if one person's not going to plasma, and it's people could you end up like saving minutes by not checking those things eventually, and it really doesn't make up the time because not only that, you also have to find a good beam to go with it. So it can be deceptive to think that you always play for charge in this mode. When Cutie, you and I both have experience, playing for charge and finding out that, we found it eventually and it wasn't even like in that bad of a location that we lose by like a minute and a half or something.
Yeah,
like
and
someone going ammo.
like one in 5 seeds, maybe you win by 2 minutes, and then 4 out of 5 seeds you're losing by like a minute because you check something like Ice Beam that someone skipped.
Yeah. Not to mention, if it's at like Shack Tool, it's just over at that point.
Yeah. If it's at Shack Tool, it's over. I mean, if it's anything in Rec Ship other than right side supers, it's probably over. Like the thing is too is even if it's at Rec Ship, the way these tend to go is like it's still bad because you've probably at that point already checked plasma, which is not a fast check at all. It can be, I guess. Like it wouldn't have been too bad in this situation with Dragon down at down at one of the lower 2 bosses, but like it could be at plasma with Dragon at Rec Ship even, right? Like there's with the boss shuffle, charge can just be incredibly varied. to the point where it just makes so much more sense to pick up a lot of ammo early, because even if you find charge, the ammo early will save you time later.
Yep. So Zeb getting through the baby skip with like 15 jumps, but good clean baby skip gets through. Now this always gets a little bit spooky. So Zeb not taking the save before this fight. You know, I think it's kind of hard to justify a save in a Chozo seed because Chozo tends to be so quickly, but
especially in playoffs.
Yeah. So
all the players in playoffs
no bad
are
players
really
here.
good.
No bad players here. But there's something to be said about this fight. You know, he's only got charge wave. His ammo's not that great. Does have 5 E-tanks and some reserves, so this is a little bit spooky. Zeb's gonna have to get through this fight. And you know, as we see here, he got through it, but it can be a little bit spooky to get through the fight, get through Mother Brain 1 as well without ice to freeze the Rinkas. But let's see how well Zeb can do this. And we have Leno going ahead and you know, I saw Leno drop a bunch of power bombs, but I think it's a little bit odd because he does have the charge wave phaser at this point. Perhaps he forgot that he has charge.
No, I mean power bombs aren't like charge wave phaser is also not that fast. I mean,
yeah, it's not that weak, so.
Or it's not. I mean, it's not that fast. Ice adds quite a bit. I think charge wave phaser is like 210, compared to with ice it's like 300. Like it's like, you know. And yeah, I think Zeb is probably saving his ammo for the red beam phase here, which is really, it's actually a pretty nice strategy in this situation. Is if you know, it's like what, it's like 15, 14 supers or whatever after the first red beam. Obviously you count, but you can use your supers then to only get 1 red beam and kind of ensure that you get a pretty good Mother Brain ending cutscene. Because so the way Mother Brain works is she won't go into the rainbow beam until her attack cycle ends, and a red beam will reset the timer on her attack cycle. So if she red beams as she's dying, that's like 4-ish seconds that you just lose right there, having to wait for her attack cycle to be over after she's dead.
Really good fight for Zeb. You know, I kind of think Zeb just knows how much damage he has to do with these beams because, I mean, like, typically in my head, I'm thinking 60 supers to take Mother Brain out. So if I shoot 45, like once you get to like the catch-up phase, I'm just like, okay, I shoot 15 more supers. That's kind of how I think of it. But I mean, Zeb had like 20 missiles and like 22 supers, and then just only used the beam. So that kind of makes me think Zeb is just like has all this in his head already.
He might.
What is all of it?
Charge wave is 150, so you would do 91 shots to hit red beam phase.
It kind of seemed like Zeb was like probably counting and just knew exactly how many to shoot, which is pretty sick, honestly. Yeah, I mean, what's there to say, Cutie? I feel like both of these runners honestly played really, really well.
Yeah,
I honestly feel like there were some decisions, the decisions that Zeb chose to make, I think ultimately worked out better for him. But it's not like they were like decisions that were like catastrophic or anything like that, right? So
yeah,
honestly,
I don't think either player made a decision that's indefensible.
Exactly.
And I mean, you're not going to find that at this point. And by like indefensible, I mean like worse than like a 60-40, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
I would honestly say that Leno's choices were pretty strong choices because honestly, let's say it's Kraid there, spikes the screw attack, right? Let's say Zeb doesn't get, like good items to do a clean lower Norfair. Leno's going to be in a really good spot in that situation.
Yeah.
So it's like I think honestly, I think both players making strong plays across the board.
High jump in upper Norfair is probably what Leno didn't want to find in that situation because he had the screw attack early that he would expect Zeb to probably not have.
Yeah.
And like no movement item LN is a little spooky in these, especially if you go down there without gravity. And some people have quite a bit of experience with it, but like regardless, with loadouts you're not used to, it can be kind of weird and spooky. So the high jump just making it way more comfortable, helps you do a fast lower Norfair.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I think Zeb's movement. I don't know how he feels, but from what I've gotten to see, I feel like Zeb's movement was really strong this play. It looks like, Zeb's not the kind of person that goes for like crazy frame savers across the board. He's not gonna go for like a 10-2x parlor or something like that, but like he's very consistent and he does not really make that many mistakes. So like, if you're talking about getting a really, really good time at Rando, it's just kind of having a strat in all these different situations and executing it properly. And I think Zeb played really, really strong here. Had a really strong showing.
I definitely think people underrate just randomizer movement. Especially these days. Like my vanilla movement's all right. My randomizer movement, in comparison to some of the more experienced randomizer players, is sometimes I flail around and look like I don't know what I'm doing in comparison.
And here we go. We got Zeb finishing in first place today in this race. GG to Zeb. Let's get his official race room, finishing the official race time of 45 minutes and 6 seconds. GG to Zeb. And joining us now, I believe, is our winner, Zeb316. Zeb, congratulations on your win. How you feeling? Can you tell us a little bit about how you felt during that seed?
Yeah, that felt like a pretty straightforward seed that I kind of wanted to get. I was thinking about maybe doing some plays for coverage against Leno, like checking Kraid boss.
Yes.
I was even considering checking Rick Ship boss. But if it was Fantoon, I really didn't want to clear ship anyway. So I'd basically only be wanting to find Kraid there potentially, and hope that I don't find Kraid there and Gravity's there, kind of a thing. That's what I was kind of trying to think about. But I was I'm just gonna play how I think is right instead, and just kind of hope that if Leno does spike something, that maybe just by playing red I can still end up winning anyway.
Yeah, but Leno kind of had an interesting choice. Did choose to go to Kraid. It, as you know, it was Dragon, so that was a little bit of a slow fight for Leno. But spiking that screw attack was nice for LN. But I think, given your loadout, you did kind of have all the movement. It seemed like you were going to be fine at LN. Yeah,
it was basically a new route. LN, it's kind of rare that I've gotten that kind of loadout. So it's been a while since I've done those kinds of strats. But it's pretty fun to have that kind of a loadout for Lore Norfer like that. You get to do a lot of cool stuff.
Now, Zeb, I have a question for you. Let's say you didn't spike the Gravity, and you had to go through all of LN on Varia. Would you have considered doing Croc, or would you have let it go?
I would have done Croc.
You would have done Croc?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
And that's the big thing I think about Leno checking Kraid bosses.
Yeah,
if he gets Gravity there, it's huge. And when he found Dragon there, I think Screw Attack was the best item he could have gotten out of that as well. It was just kind of unfortunate that high jump was in Upper Norfair to make LN a lot more comfortable for you.
Yeah, I think Leno's play was pretty strong. Leno opted not to do the meme route, so by the time he got up to the top, he had 10 power bombs. Opted to do Gauntlet, which I think is fair because it could have been anything at that point, right? Because you found the supers.
I was thinking about doing Gauntlet too, as another coverage kind of play, but it's pretty bad going that way. So I just was nah, I'm just gonna go straight down.
Yep. Yeah.
I think in terms of coverage plays, Gauntlet is maybe the slowest one you can do. I think trying to go too big on your coverage plays is just a recipe for making mistakes. I think maybe you do one coverage play, but it's a minor little thing like that is probably the best way to play safe in these seeds, just because these seeds are so fast.
My biggest coverage play was actually just doing Bubble Mountain before Lore Norfair. I think generally I might go to Lore Norfair first instead. Although my ammo, I think my ammo was okay.
You could have done it. You were 35-25, 10, I think. 35-25.
It was a little weak, I think. Yeah.
It was a little weak, but it was doable. And since, did you have charge at this point? You did have charge, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you had charge, but you'd still probably no beams, but you'd still check Peeves of Shame and stuff. It would have been a doable fight, but yeah.
Yeah. So Leno. definitely kind of like with the Spazer and whatnot, and I think had a little bit more ammo at the time. Did go pretty quickly into LN, and it had the screw attack, right? And went into LN pretty quickly. I think skipped wave and speed, so kind of like what you're saying. So Leno, I think wisely kind of being able to do that, checked wave after coming out, and then just skipped speed booster entirely. Whereas I think you did that. So I think Leno honestly played it pretty strongly as well, but maybe your execution, I feel like in the seed was really, really strong. I think that's kind of where the time might have been mostly.
Yeah. When I don't know, like I felt like really, like my early game movement was a little weak. I thought like I got pretty lucky actually when I did meme route to get a power bomb drop from one of those giant side hoppers.
Oh.
That meant that I didn't have to like refill power bombs at any point.
Oh, that's nice.
Especially after like finding the second power bomb at Bryn Reserve.
Always lucky, Zeb. Always lucky.
Yeah. I was thinking I might have just skipped the second item behind the Bryn Reserve if I didn't get a power bomb there. But I did, so and then but yeah, like my movement in like once I got the movement items, like it's just so much easier to like move at that point. I think that like everyone's movement looks a lot better when you have high jump speed. Like that just
like definitely.
Yeah, it was just kind of, I feel like it was a little unfortunate for Leno that, he had to fight Dragon at Kraid, because that definitely slowed him down a little bit too. That's kind of the risk you take, but he did get the screw to help him a little bit out of the fight, whereas, obviously you got that when it didn't really matter at that point.
Yeah. Getting that screw attack, I almost tried to like avoid it. I tried not to pick it up, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it ended up saving time. Probably not, but it might have been worth the pickup.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good against Ridley.
I think this was also a good seed that highlights that even if you find charge early, ammo is still important in this mode. Just with how bad some of the major checks are. You're never guaranteed a good beam even if you find charge. So like if you're playing to spike charge beam in this mode, you still should be getting miners early.
All right. Yeah. And joining us from the future right now, we got Lenophis in the commentators booth. GG Leno. We thought you played a really strong game. But yeah, any thoughts on the seed?
The future, Eddie? That's right, Eddie. All the way from the year 2000. Yeah, I mean, this one seemed like you couldn't have possibly routed it any better, so this seemed like it was an execution battle. GG Zeb. That was a good one.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, there was some divergence at the beginning. We were talking about how Zeb chose to go meme route at the start, and then you opted to choose Gauntlet. I'm pretty sure if Zeb didn't go meme route, I think there's a good chance Zeb would have also done Gauntlet there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zeb.
Yeah, I think I would have been a lot more likely to. I probably would have.
Yeah. I mean, the Spazer was nice in the end, but and the routing kind of worked out. But obviously, Zeb saved maybe a little bit of time going to the Alpha PB's check a little bit quicker. But honestly, we were talking about the choices that you made, and we couldn't see any faults with them. I think they were all very strong. Obviously, the Dragon fight, it's kind of unfortunate that you have to fight Dragon there. You have the solutions to get out, but obviously it's going to be a little bit slower. But
Well, I knew once that 30th super appeared, like, okay, we're just gonna go kill Kraid right now. I know you typically don't want to do that because you might spike a good item, but
yeah,
I figured, you know what, this is a boss I can kill, I can get out, it doesn't matter, and I got a screw attack out of it, so that actually really helped my lower Norfair.
Exactly.
Yeah, we were saying that best case scenario, you find Kraid and Gravity there, but when you found Dragon, screw attack was probably the best item you could find behind Dragon in that situation.
It was a good reward to make that lower Norfair a lot smoother.
And I was asking Zeb if you found ice or plasma anywhere. I see credits are giving beams in good locations again. Nothing good on path.
Yep, I was just talking about that before you came in. This is one of those seeds where just because you have charge doesn't mean you should skip checking ammo in this mode. Ammo's just so important in this mode, even if you find charge, just because the bad major locations are very bad.
Yeah. I kind of regret skipping that super at Batoon there. That one I
Yeah,
felt like I
yeah.
should have grabbed.
I grabbed that one. I skipped like all the other ones, or I skipped even like checking to see if anything was supers. Like if I knew there was a super in my way, then I would have picked it up. But like there wasn't anything like. I was thinking about even checking like Hoda Ruby, but I just decided against it. Like I don't know. It maybe I could have like checked that one specifically, but.
I think Hoda Ruby's pretty quick because there's no door
Yeah.
transitions. It's like maybe like 5 seconds to check, if that.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty good just to like look at, but yeah, it's like one of those seeds where you kind of have to balance ammo with looking for a beam, and there's also the risk reward of, well, okay, crate item could just be plasma, and it's like, well.
Yep. And also like I was already at 30 supers, so I didn't feel like I needed like I'm fine beating the game on Charge Wave, like beating Mother Brain. If I have to fight Ridley on Charge Wave, then that's different. But like just beating the game, like Charge Wave is fine to beat Mother Brain with. So I wasn't as worried. Like supers actually do save time with this beam. Charge Wave, they are enough faster DPS that they actually save more time than the fanfare. But with like, if I got any other beam, then that wouldn't be the case. So I just didn't want to like look for things when I already had Ridley ammo.
Zeb, I have a quick question for you. Do you know exactly how much you're doing on that beam and exactly when to start firing those missiles and supers? 'Cause that's kind of what it seemed like to me.
I don't know the damage values, but I know the amount of shots for Mother Brain to die. So this one's 120.
Okay.
So I knew I was at about half with supers, a little more than half. But I played it a little bit safe, and I did 60 charge shots to start. I could have probably gotten away with like 59, 58 instead. But I just did 60, and then I used all my ammo, because that's about how much I had.
Got it. And then Leno, so Cutie and I were talking about your playthrough. I mean, we thought all the decisions you made were pretty strong decisions, honestly. We were just like, this is like, everyone here knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is like really good play all across the board. But yeah, I mean, like, did it ever like cross your mind to maybe check the speed booster? We were thinking that you were probably going to skip it.
I had, well, at the time when I left Lower Norfair, I went to go check Wave.
Yeah.
The only items that were left were the rest of the convenience items, the reserve tank, and I think one more Chozo missile. I don't remember if we saw both at that point or not. And I'm like, you know what? If I find something decent at Wave Beam, I'll just go ahead and leave Lower Norfair, because it's speed booster. It's just too long of a time commitment.
Yeah.
In a setting like this, I don't think speed booster is a good check in a
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that was, if you got gravity before speed booster, like if you went into Lower Norfair before doing Bubble Mountain, then I think that I would also skip speed.
I think there's very few situations where you go into LN before Bubble Mountain and have gravity and still check speed booster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were both talking about how I feel like all the choices you made were just really strong choices, making the right skips at the right times.
This is gonna be a fun one to watch back, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not much else for me to say. I feel like both players played really well, like good choices. Some things happened there, some things happened here, but I feel like both players made really strong choices here, and I was very impressed by the level of play. I mean, honestly, at this stage of this tournament, you're gonna get like good choices, good play. It's just, you can't really get this far unless you're a very strong player. So hats off to both of you for putting up a good show. It was awesome to watch.
Yep, absolutely. I think this was a very textbook display of the right way to play, not the right way, but the best ways to play this mode. I don't think anyone made a decision that was worse than like a 45-55.
Well, thank you. I hope everyone in chat enjoyed it too. And thank you guys for calling this race, Paragon for tracking this race. This was a fun one. I had fun. The result wasn't there, but you know what? Still had a good time.
Seb, any final things that you want to say to your fans out there?
To all my fans, thank you for supporting me up until now. I couldn't have done it without you. And yeah, looking forward to the next race. I think that we've got another race in like 5 minutes, so gonna
5,
be
6
on
minutes,
this
something like that. Yep.
channel. So